Good evening, my sisters, my warriors, my queens of purpose and destiny. I greet you with love, honor, and divine anticipation. Tonight I came with a message for the woman who has been waiting, weeping, warring in silence, and wondering if heaven still has her name on the blessing list. I came to tell you that if you're seeing certain signs in your life, signs that look like struggle, like separation, like stillness, do not be deceived. What feels like resistance is actually the rehearsal for your release. You see, God never brings a woman into greatness without process. You cannot carry something powerful without pressure. The womb of your spirit has been stretched, not to break you, but to make room for the promise. If the labor pains are intensifying, it's because you're closer now than you have ever been. And I want you to understand that your pain is not random. Your warfare is not wasted. There is a blueprint in heaven with your name on it. And the chaos around you is simply evidence that construction has begun. Some of you have been questioning the silence of God. You've prayed, fasted, praised, and stayed faithful. Yet it feels like heaven has gone mute. But I want you to know that silence is not absence. Silence is not rejection. Silence is strategy. When God gets ready to do something unprecedented in a woman's life, He doesn't announce it to the crowd. He whispers it in the dark. And that whisper, that still small voice, is what sustains you through the shadow. Because the blessing that's coming is not ordinary. And so the preparation must be extraordinary. You'll notice more opposition than usual. Don't panic. That's another sign. The enemy only attacks what threatens him. If hell has increased its volume, it's because your destiny has entered a new dimension. The enemy sees your promise, even when you can't. And when he can't take your promise, he'll try to take your peace. He'll send confusion, delay, betrayal, and even self-doubt to wear you out before the breakthrough arrives. But I declare tonight, you will not miscarry what you've been carrying. You will not abandon your assignment because of the pressure. You are too close. And if you feel like you've been walking alone lately, friends falling off, calls going silent, relationships shifting, that's not a curse, that's a clue. God often removes you from familiar circles to reveal your personal capacity. Isolation is not punishment, it is protection. When God is about to elevate a woman, He hides her, because some blessings are too sacred to be shared prematurely. Your silence has been sacred. Your solitude has been strategic. And suddenly, you begin to experience favor in strange places. People begin to mention your name in rooms you've never entered. Opportunities begin to appear where you didn't plant any seed. That's because the favor of God doesn't follow logic. It follows alignment. When you are in purpose, provision locates you. You won't have to strive, you'll just have to steward. What used to take years will happen in moments, because heaven will accelerate what it has anointed. But with that shift comes a new level of spiritual sensitivity. You'll start feeling things deeper. Your spirit will start picking up on things your mind can't explain. That's not paranoia, that's preparation. God is fine-tuning your discernment for what's ahead. You're beginning to see in the Spirit, hear in the Spirit, and move with conviction. Because where you're going, you can't afford to be casual. The woman you are becoming is called to operate at a higher frequency, and that requires a greater awareness of divine timing. And finally, if you feel like your identity has been under attack, if you've been questioning who you are, doubting your worth, comparing yourself, or feeling like your past disqualifies your future, know this, that's not a coincidence. That's the enemy's final attempt to make you abort your assignment. He knows he can't cancel your destiny, so he tries to convince you that you're not worthy of it. But hear me, your history is not your prophecy. What you've been through didn't disqualify you, it trained you. It forged you in fire. It built a foundation that can carry the weight of glory. You are not random. You are not forgotten. You are not too late, too broken, or too much. You are exactly the woman for the job. And if these signs are showing up in your life, if you're feeling the stretching, the stirring, the shaking, then I've got news for you. Divine delay is not denial. When heaven is silent, God is preparing a stage for your next level. Silence is the sound of construction. Woman of destiny, I need you to hear this with your spirit. The battle is not random, it is revelation. What you are fighting right now is not because of where you are, but because of where you're headed. The enemy doesn't launch full-scale warfare against someone who poses no threat. If the pressure has increased, it's because you've become a target. But not just any target. You've become a threat to the territory he once controlled. The warfare is a sign that the heavens have shifted and the earth is responding. Hell is nervous because the version of you that is emerging is a woman who knows her identity, a woman who knows her worth, a woman who has survived storms that were supposed to silence her. And now she's walking with fire in her voice and purpose in her steps. Yes, the battle is heavy. You've cried in silence, you've warred in prayer, you've carried things you couldn't even explain to others. But can I tell you something powerful? What you're feeling is the sound of the enemy's last attempt to stop something he can't control. Because breakthrough is messy. Deliverance comes with disruption. And every great shift comes with great shaking. So when things start falling apart, when relationships break down, when finances tighten, when your emotions swing like a pendulum, that's not the time to faint. That's the time to fasten your crown, square your shoulders, and declare, this means something is about to break. Because in the kingdom, pressure is the prelude to promotion. Don't misinterpret the warfare as a sign to quit. It's actually a prophetic announcement that you're standing at the door of a divine moment. The enemy fights hardest at the gate. Why? Because he knows once you cross over, you will not just be blessed, you will be unstoppable. So don't just endure the warfare, interpret it. Don't just cry through the battle, prophesy through it. Declare the word of the Lord over your storm. Praise like the chains have already broken. Walk like the answer is already in motion. Because, woman of God, the size of your battle reveals the size of your breakthrough. And if you've been feeling like all hell broke loose, it's because all of heaven is about to break in. Queen, if you've been feeling alone lately, if the circle got smaller, the phone got quieter, and the support you once depended on seems to have disappeared, don't call it abandonment. Call it alignment. When God is preparing a woman for something greater, he often leads her into a season of divine separation. Not because you're forgotten, but because you're being formed. The wilderness is not a place of defeat. It's a place of distinction. It's where God reveals the blueprint for the next level. It's where he trains your ear to hear him not through noise, but through stillness. It's in isolation that he fine-tunes your discernment, sharpens your spirit, and awakens your identity. Because before he reveals you to the world, he has to reveal you to you. Some of you have been crying over people who walked away, doors that closed, relationships that faded. But beloved, not everyone was assigned to your next chapter. Some were only meant to escort you to the threshold, not enter the promise with you. Their exit is not your loss. It's God clearing the atmosphere so purpose can breathe. Understand this. Destiny requires space. And before God enlarges your territory, he clears the clutter. That's why things had to get quiet. That's why you had to sit in silence. It was never about loneliness. It was about listening. Because when the world goes quiet, heaven speaks loudly. So don't rush this season. Don't fight the solitude. Let it sanctify you. Let it anchor you. Let it mold you into the woman who doesn't need external validation because she walks in internal revelation. This season of hiding is holy, and soon what was hidden will be honored, because God does not isolate to punish. He isolates to prepare. Woman of destiny, I need you to prepare your spirit for what's coming next. Favor in unfamiliar territory. I'm talking about access where you had no connections. Opportunities where you did no campaigning. Blessings in rooms where your name was mentioned and you weren't even in the building. That's what happens when a woman begins to walk in divine alignment. Not for applause, not for attention, but for assignment. See, purpose carries a fragrance. It speaks for you when you don't even open your mouth. It draws the right people. It opens the right doors. And it positions you in places that don't match your resume, but align with your revelation. Because when God opens a door, it's not based on earthly qualifications. It's based on heavenly ordination. You may not have the background, the platform of the pedigree, but God has the blueprint. And when He says it's time, nothing can stop what's been appointed. This is why some of you are getting callbacks, invitations, and open doors that feel out of your league. It's not luck, it's legacy. You've stepped into the realm where favor finds you, not because of what you've done, but because of who you've become. And here's the thing. When it's favor, you won't have to force it. You won't have to compromise. You won't have to chase it or manipulate it. It will flow. It will unfold. And it will feel too easy, not because it is, but because the grace of God went ahead of you and did the heavy lifting. That's what happens when you stop living for convenience and start walking in conviction. You're not where you are by accident. Every place your feet touch in this season is strategic. You've entered your Esther moment, where God is placing you in royal positions to fulfill kingdom assignments. And don't be surprised when your name is honored in spaces that never knew your story, because God is using your obedience to write history in places your presence never prepared for. So keep walking. Keep moving in faith. And when favor shows up in strange places, don't question it. Walk through it. Because you didn't plant the seed, but God already scheduled the harvest. Mujali meli melili. Woman of purpose, when a major blessing is near, your spirit starts to stir in ways your mind can't always explain. Suddenly, you're feeling things that don't match what's happening around you. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you know something's shifting. That's not paranoia. That's prophetic positioning. In this season, your sensitivity to the Spirit will begin to intensify. You'll start to sense people's motives without them speaking. You'll feel the temperature of a room shift when you walk in. Not because you're suspicious, but because your discernment has been upgraded. God is no longer just preparing to bless you. He's preparing you to manage what's coming with wisdom. You begin to wake up with ideas that feel downloaded from heaven. Dreams will start carrying instruction. Conversations will feel heavier with divine weight. Why? Because when elevation is near, revelation gets louder. You're not imagining things. You're not being overly deep. You are being activated. Spiritual sensitivity is heaven's alert system. It's how God gets your attention before the shift fully arrives. And if you've been feeling uncomfortable in familiar environments, it's because your spirit is growing faster than your surroundings. God is stretching your awareness because you're about to step into something new. And He doesn't want you walking blindly. He wants you walking boldly, with insight. Some of you will even begin to feel the need to withdraw more often. Not because you're avoiding people, but because your spirit is craving consecration. Your ears are tuning into frequency changes. You're not just hearing noise anymore. You're hearing instructions. This is what happens when God is preparing to trust you with territory. So don't ignore the signals. Pay attention to the patterns. Write down the dreams. Fast when your spirit feels heavy. Pray when the atmosphere shifts. Because what you're picking up is not small. It's prophetic. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's a weapon. And it's proof that heaven is downloading the strategy for your next assignment. Daughter of the Most High, listen carefully. If the enemy can't touch your future, you'll try to tamper with your identity. Why? Because identity is the gate to destiny. Before you can do what you're called to do, you have to first know who you are. That's why this season has felt so personal. That's why you've been questioning your value, your voice, your worth, even your calling. It's not coincidence. It's warfare. But the war isn't over your resources or your reputation. The real war is over your revelation. The moment you come into alignment with your true identity, the enemy loses leverage. Because a woman who knows who she is becomes undeniable, unshakable, and You see, Satan tried the same tactic with Jesus in the wilderness. If you are the Son of God, that's always the attack. If you are, he attacks identity before assignment. And the same is happening with you. The pressure you've been under has been designed to make you question what God already confirmed. But you don't have to answer to the enemy's ifs when you're standing on God's I am. You are chosen. You are anointed. You are called. You are set apart. You are more than the trauma, more than the opinion, more than the insecurity. Your identity is heaven issued and blood sealed. That means it's not up for debate, and it cannot be revoked by human hands or demonic voices. When a blessing is near, identity attacks increase. Because your enemy knows that if you ever step fully into who God created you to be, hell will lose control over every area of your life. So when the whispers of doubt come, when the lies try to creep in, when the past tries to haunt you, stand up in your authority and say, I know who you are. You stop chasing validation. You stop shrinking to fit. You stop apologizing for your calling. You don't need another confirmation. You don't need another title. You don't need permission. You just need to believe what heaven already said. Ladies, hear me by the Spirit of the living God. You are not just a woman going through a hard time. You are a woman being ushered into divine purpose. Everything you've seen, everything you've felt, everything you've battled in this season. It's not random, it's revelation. Heaven is signaling a shift. When your identity is attacked, when isolation becomes your only friend, when spiritual sensitivity increases and favor starts finding you in strange places, you are no longer in preparation, you are stepping into prophetic positioning. You are on the verge of a manifestation that hell tried to delay but could not deny. The warfare was a clue. The silence was a classroom. The favor is a forecast. And your spiritual sensitivity is confirmation that God has placed his hand on your life for something that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. You were never called to be average. You were never created to blend in. You were sent to disrupt atmospheres, shift generations, and walk with heaven's government on your shoulders. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to stand up, square your shoulders, and declare with boldness, I am who God says I am. I carry what God gave me. I will become everything he destined me to be. And nothing, no devil, no delay, no distraction can stop what he's about to release through my life. You are not waiting on a blessing. You are the blessing. So rise, woman of destiny. Your time is not coming. Your time is now.